says, hey, we should watch Pierre Poilievre roasting Trudeau. Who? Who's Pierre Poilievre? Poilievre? Am I even saying it right? Sorry, man. I don't know French.
He had to explain economics. Trudeau was a kid cause Justin Trudeau is so dumb.
Wait, he's this dude. Dude, I remember this. This guy's actually goated, unironically. Hold on, wait. This was epic.
They struggle to actually find young people to do work, and of course housing is a problem and healthcare is a problem. As was mentioned earlier, the hospital here gets closed quite frequently. Nothing to do with vaccinations, I don't believe. It's a doctor issue. It's more a shortage of doctors. So what do you do in the meantime? I mean, you've got lots of plans for building houses, etc., but in the sort of immediate spectrum, what do you do to
create a Blue Seal test to quickly license the 20,000 immigrant doctors we have in Canada. Many of them are prevented from ever working, and they give up on getting a job as a doctor, and they end up taking low-wage work for the rest of their lives. I'm proposing a simple Blue Seal testing standard that would apply right across Canada. Take the test, get the license, get to work within 60 days.
That sounds like a very common sense response. Like, why was that not like the first reaction when you're like, oh, we're having to shut down, what is it, like hospitals here? Because we are running out of doctors. Well, let's get more doctors. Especially, they have tens of thousands of doctors at this point. Like, why would that not be the default response?
Okay, and I mean that obviously you're going to encounter some opposition from the College of Medicine, etc., across the provinces.
Yeah,
so how do you deal with that issue?
We push forward. But there's not easy street leads to a dead end. The best hard roads lead to the best destinations. We're no longer going to accept that this or that gatekeeping bureaucracy stands in the way of obvious common sense solutions.
Makes sense.
It is unacceptable that 20,000 doctors can't work in Canada when we have a massive shortage. And when people...
Official Mike in the chat says, he's the next Prime Minister of Canada. You think he's going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada? That'd be interesting. But I don't know. I don't know if Canada is democratic enough to allow anyone other than Trudeau to be the Prime Minister in the future.
Come to me and say, yeah, but this
but
or
I,
that.
I could be wrong. I don't know the Canadian political system that well.
That clerk or bureaucracy is not going to be happy. That's life.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of vested interests and bureaucracies that are going to be very unhappy when I'm Prime Minister.
Okay. On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean, certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean, it's that type of ideological spectrum.
I never really talk about left or right.
Anyways, I don't really believe in that. Okay, a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure.
I love seeing how flustered this reporter is getting too. Like, he has these accusations. He has these accusations lined up to dish out to this guy. But it sounds like he doesn't know where these accusations are coming from, because he's like, well, what do you mean by that? And the guy's like stuttering like a fool.
There are a great many Canadians, but...
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question.
Yeah, you can, yeah. You can just say stuff like that, and then fold as someone says, "Oh, what do you mean?" It's like, "Oh, well, just some people would say that." Like, what?
Yeah. Oh, you must know somebody.
Okay, I'm sure there's some out there, but anyways, the point of this question is, I mean, why should Canadians trust you with their vote, given, not just the sort of ideological inclination in terms of taking the page out of Donald Trump's book, but
what are you
also
talking about? What page? What page? Can you give me a page? Give me the page. You keep saying
in terms of turning things quite dramatically in terms of Trudeau and the left wing and all of this. I mean, you make quite a, it's quite a play that you make on it. So I'm
not
just
sure.
wondering.
I don't know what your question is.
He doesn't know what he's saying. He's like you're riling people up, but he can't point to anything that he's saying that's inflammatory.
Then forget that.
Hold on. Who is this guy? Who is the guy interviewing him? Because I want to know what publication he works for so that I can completely avoid it for the rest of my life.
Why should Canadians trust you with their vote?
Common sense.
Official Black Mike says, okay. He is the next Prime Minister of Canada unless Trudeau's boyfriend rigs the election. Oh wow. I would be completely shocked. That would shock me. I would be flabbergasted if the Canadian election was rigged in favor of Trudeau. It says this guy's very popular. Oh really? I'm actually leaving Canada when I get biology PhD. Oh nice. You and ISM should trade places. I've been thinking. Like you help ISM get to Canada. ISM helps you get to the States. like literally though. Like
Common sense for a change. We're going to make common sense common in this country. We don't have any common sense in the current government. The guy prints $600 billion, grows our money supply by 32% in 3 years. That's growing the money.
Yeah, it'll do it
8 times faster than the economy.
And we do this in America too, by the way. I think even Trump perpetrated this, as well as Obama, as well as Joe Biden. I hate it when people do this. I think I've talked about this before. I think probably in the video where like this is the worst economic take ever or something, where I reacted to the whole like mint the coin bro or whatever.
No wonder we have the worst inflation in
the mint the coin bro article.
4 decades. I'm going to cap spending, cut waste, so that we can balance the budget and bring down inflation and interest rates. You'll want to be able to pay your mortgage again. You want to be able to afford rent. Then you have to vote for Pierre Poilievre, because I'm the only one with a common sense plan that will bring back the buying power of your paycheck. Second, I'm going to make work pay. Right now we punish work. They're asking, why doesn't anybody want to work? Because work doesn't pay. Why would you work when you get punished for working? Our country now punishes work. You make it, Trudeau takes it. I'm going to cut taxes so people bring home more of each dollar they earn. Housing. We have the fewest houses per capita in the G7. Why? Too much bureaucracy. We have the land. We have more land than any other country in the G7. Yet why do we have the fewest houses per capita? Because you can't get anything built.
Yo,
I'm going to require cities.
That's wild. That's crazy that you have so much land and you can't build anything. But actually, I'm not shocked though, because Canada strikes me as like a very like environmentally conscious land. So
boost home building by 15% per year, or they're going to lose federal money. But those that beat my target will get a bonus. So we reward good behavior and punish bad. That's common sense too. We're also going to bring home safe streets. People are going to feel safe in Kelowna. Kelowna is the worst crime in all of Canada after 8 years of Trudeau and Singh. And I'm going to get rid of I'm going to bring in jail and not bail for repeat violent offenders, treatment and not decriminalize crack to bring our loved ones home drug-free. And we're going to secure the borders to keep illegal guns out while protecting the rights of lawful, licensed hunters and sport shooters.
Going back to the drug issue, are you looking at to put any money into treatment? Because that's obviously one of the big things identified.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And that's a great idea. It's the only
one thing I think that the left-wing folks kind of ignore is that everyone on like the right wing, I feel like, wants to put more money into drug treatments. I heard a lot of stuff from the GOP presidential debates about putting money into more like drug treatments and finding ways to help suffering and struggling drug addicts recuperate and recover and then learn to thrive without the drug that they were reliant on. So it's nice to see that reflected here from Pierre as well.
Only way out. Treatment is the answer. We need to bring people into beautiful treatment facilities. I think of one facility I visited in Winnipeg recently. where the father of a young man who died of an overdose has created a beautiful facility where they separate the addicts from their addiction, counseling, yoga, sweat lodges for First Nations, a fitness program, a job placement after they leave, and they're building housing right attached to the facility so that when they graduate, we don't just throw them back out on the street. We put them in supportive housing where they can come back, get some exercise in the gym, see a counselor, and mentor incoming addicts so that they can have a nice, smooth runway to lift off again into a drug-free life.
This is obviously going to cost quite a bit, and there's staffing issues involved in this, presumably.
Yes. So my plan on that is I have a dollar for dollar principle. Every new dollar I spend will have to be matched with a dollar of savings. So I'm going to cut the money that Trudeau government is spending.
Although, I mean, honestly, that's probably not good enough. But I'm also coming from the perspective of America where we spend like way too much money. Like it should be like $1 spent is like $5 saved.
On giving out high-powered opioids. They call it safe supply. It's now clear that it's just being diverted and sold to kids to profit drug dealers and pay for fentanyl. Since this experiment began in BC, we've seen a 300% increase in drug overdose deaths, and 30,000 have died nationwide. I'm going to get rid of that program, put the money into treatment, not new drug handouts. I'm going to stop funding activists and bureaucracies and put it into frontline treatment. And finally, I'm going to sue the the corrupt pharmaceutical companies who caused the crisis in the first place by flooding the market with OxyContin, which ultimately caused people to become addicted right across North America. The Americans have now recovered $54 billion. We've covered almost nothing in Canada. So I want to recover those billions and put that money into treatment.
Okay, and just going back to cutting taxes and whatnot, where would you do you have any targets already in terms of where you would make cuts?
Defund the CBC, save $1 billion, get rid of the ArriveCan app, reduce the monstrous...
I don't know what the ArriveCan app is, but is it like the CBC like a major outlet for news? I mean... I don't get the impression that there are tons of news outlets in Canada. Now, maybe that's the fault of the fact that the country of Canada does not have free speech, but, you know, I feel like that would kind of gut a major source of news in Canada, unless they privatized it. They should auction it out. See, this is one thing I like about auctioning out. Like, whenever I talk about this, people act like, you know, it's some insane radical policy. But there are so many departments of the government that I think rather than just shutting them down, you should auction them out. Because if you auction them out, you're going to have rich bigwigs spending lots of money on that department to turn it into a company. So not only are you saving money by not funding that company anymore, you're actually making money when that bigwig or whatever goes and buys it up. So like, let's say like the person who runs like NPR decides to buy CBC, then it's a win-win. CBC's users still get the news that they want. CBC continues to run. Nobody there loses jobs. But also, the state of Canada is not funding the CBC anymore, so they're saving money. And they made money on the sale of the department. Those are the types of moves I think that people need to be thinking about more when it comes to like defunding parts of the government.
Contracting out that waste it on themselves and bring that money home. We're also going to cap spending so the government doesn't grow, and we're going to use the savings to lower the debt and the taxes.
And who are the dictators and terrorists that Canada's currently giving money to?
Well, President Xi in China gave a $250 million to the Asian Infrastructure Bank, which is building pipelines that we don't allow to be built here. He's building them in Asia, bridges, other Asian projects.
But the hypocrisy, I feel like, of a lot of Western nations is just so like irksome, right? Where he's talking about building pipelines in Canada that you're not even allowed to build in America. A lot of American industries, and this is the fault of private companies more so than the federal government, but private companies, manufacturing things overseas because they can have more pollution and stuff or less worker rights than in America. It's like, this idea of like being green in the United States while allowing American companies to go overseas and do things in a dirtier way is just like it's ridiculous. You're trying to shift responsibility from yourself to countries like China or countries like India, but at the end of the day, it's not really causing a net benefit because it's still happening just somewhere else, not on your own soil.
That are designed to reestablish the ancient Silk Route of the Chinese Empire. Why would we pay to establish some kind of imperial silk dynasty with Canadian tax dollars for communist dictatorship? It's insane. So we want to stop these kinds of giveaways and bring the money home to our own country and our people.
So I'm guessing with you as Prime Minister, relations with China would be a bit rockier than they are currently.
Well, I think they're very rocky right now. It's just that they're the ones, the dictatorship in Beijing is the one in charge. They're basically dominating our Prime Minister and exercising influence against our country. I'm going to stand up for Canada because this is our country and our home.
Okay, I can see why he's so popular in Canada now. I'm not even Canadian and I wouldn't vote for this guy. Oh man. That's awesome. So you said that he talked to Trudeau? Or he roasted Trudeau? Okay, maybe it's this.
The Prime Minister's Arrive scam is now flailing out of control.
Okay, so this is the Arrive app I think that he talked about earlier, right? That he wants to defund?
The Prime Minister's Arrive scam is now flailing out of control. Today, revelations from a Joël Denis Bellevance that one Arrive scan company received $250 million in contracts. Let's get this straight. It's a company with 4 employees, headquartered in the basement of a tiny cottage. They got IT contracts even though they admit they do no IT work.
How does that work? How does that work? I feel like I would get more value if I bought a painting from Hunter Biden. This is insane. Paying $250 million to 4 people to do nothing? That's a bit odd. That's a bit odd, isn't it?
$250 million. WTF.
Here, here.
Goated. Goated with the sauce, my guy.
I'm going to ask, we are dangerously close to crossing the line in terms of what is considered parliamentary language. That is an abbreviation which is commonly used with language, which is commonly understood not to be parliamentary. I'm going to ask the honourable opposition leader, please, to withdraw that comment and to use parliamentary language, please.
That's fair, actually.
Where's the funds?
Yo, that's awesome.
I appreciate that the leader of the opposition had clarified that comment. I'm going to ask all members to not use the acronym, because the acronym in the minds of Canadians clearly would be considered unparliamentary language, and to use the full words. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, during the time of pandemic, the government rightly did everything it could to keep Canadians safe and keep them protected. But of course, even in the most trying times, perhaps especially in the most trying times, all the rules need to be followed. In this case, the Auditor General has highlighted some very concerning questions that need to be answered, and that's why we're expecting and supporting all relevant authorities to follow up. up on these irregular contracting and this perhaps breaking of the rules. This is an important issue, and that's why we're taking it seriously, Mr. Speaker.
So let's recap. A company that had never before received contracts from the federal government started getting an avalanche of contracts just 3 weeks after this prime minister took office. The company, in fact, got $250 million for IT, even though it admits it doesn't do IT. It has 4 employees and has a headquarters in the basement of a cottage. Can the prime minister explain why this suspicious company started getting these contracts exactly 21 days after he took office?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
It's obviously an unacceptable situation, which is why the relevant authorities are fully investigating exactly what went on here, particularly...
Investigating? Can't you just rescind it? Now, granted, I don't know how the Canadian government works, so maybe that's not possible, but like, he's not really speaking with much urgency here. He's not really acting like he cares very much.
Highlighted by the Auditor General's recent report. This is an issue we need to continue to understand and make sure that the rules are being followed, make sure that our procurement practices across government are respectful of taxpayer money.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
More proof the Prime Minister is not worth the cost or the corruption. After 8 years of doubling housing costs, quadrupling the carbon tax, sending 2 million people to food banks, he somehow found $250 million for this one company, which boasts on its website that it is now Ottawa's fastest growing company. No doubt about that when they're having their faces stuffed with tax dollars by this Prime Minister. Why is it that when Canadians are starving in food bank lines, the Prime Minister finds $250 million for his friends?
This dude doesn't even say that he's like in America, generally speaking, like an American president would probably just say, "Oh, it's not happening. It's not even real." Trudeau is admitting that it's happening. He's just like, "Oh yeah, it sucks. Shouldn't have done that. Too bad." It is basically his response, which is a wild response to, yeah, we sent $250 million to a company that does nothing.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Obviously, the relevant authorities need to follow up on this and get to the bottom of exactly how this unacceptable situation happened.
And check his language too. He's also shifting the blame from himself to law enforcement. Now, the way that Pierre is speaking makes me think that Trudeau himself was the one who authorized these funds to go to this company. If that's the case, then he's the one who should be investigated because this is his fault.
In the meantime, on this side of the House, we're going to continue to focus on making life more affordable for Canadians. For example, attracting thousands of healthcare workers by increasing by 50% student loan forgiveness for rural doctors and nurses, by fast-tracking the construction of more than 51,000 homes, by finalizing the housing accelerator agreements with over 60 small and rural communities. While the Conservative Party continues to block these initiatives, we're going to continue to step up for Canadians.
Here.
Wow. Yikes. Big oof there. Big oof.